We're continuing the road to Doomsday, and today we've reached one of the most divisive entries in the entire MCU. That, of course, is Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the sequel to one of the biggest superhero movies of all time, directed once again by Joss Whedon, and instead of just going bigger, it tries to go deeper. And whether it succeeds or not, well, that's where things get interesting. The film picks up with the Avengers at the height of their power. They're a well-oiled machine, taking down Hydra bases, working together like never before, until Tony Stark decides to do, well, what Tony Stark does best, and create a problem while trying to solve one. And that leads us to the creation of Ultron. Ultron is one of the most fascinating villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not because he's physically intimidating, but because he's philosophical. He's not just trying to destroy humanity. He genuinely believes he's trying to save the world from humanity.
I've come to save the world.
And that's what makes him compelling. But at the same time, this is where some of the issues start to creep in, because Ultron is also weirdly funny. He quips, he jokes, he feels like an extension of Tony Stark rather than his own fully realized threat. And depending on your taste, I really enjoy it. It either works for you or it completely undercuts the danger. Where this movie really shines is in the team itself. This is the Avengers at their most human. They're tired, they're fractured, they're questioning what comes next. You've got Steve Rogers still holding on to his values.
Shit! Language!
Meanwhile, Tony is already looking ahead to threats no one else sees.
We're the Avengers. We can bust arms dealers all the live long day, but that up there, that's the end game.
And the central conflict? That's the heart of the movie. Not Ultron, not the action, but the ideological split between Tony and Steve that will eventually explode into Civil War. This movie does something the first Avengers didn't have time for. It slows down. We get real moments with characters like Clint Barton, who we finally feel as a real person instead of just a guy with a bow.
Look, I just need to know because the city is flying. Okay, look.
We're introduced to Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, and Wanda especially becomes one of the most important characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward.
You took everything from me.
But simultaneously, Pietro becomes one of the most underused characters in the MCU. I really do think this movie had to kill a character to show there were more stakes. But of course, they couldn't kill any of the core six, so that led to Wanda or Pietro, and they chose Pietro. We also get the beginnings of Vision, and honestly, he might be one of the best parts of the movie. When Avengers Age of Ultron goes big, it does. The Hulkbuster vs. Hulk fight, a very top-tier MCU fight sequence.
In the back? Dick move, Banner.
The final battle in Sokovia, a city lifted into the sky acting as a meteor, it's insane. It is comic book chaos in the best way. But here's the thing, the movie does feel crowded. It's juggling Ultron's origin, the Avengers' internal conflict, new characters, Infinity Stone's setup, future MCU teases, and sometimes it feels like it's doing homework instead of telling a focused story. You can feel the weight of the MCU expanding here, and not always in a good way. And again, for the grander scale, like we talked about, right, Quicksilver, Pietro is kind of an underused character. But what I take away from this, because I love Ultron in this movie, I take away that James Spader is such an underused talent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is fantastic in this, and I am so excited that he will be back later this year in Vision Quest, which make sure you stay tuned to the channel for reviews on that later on. Look, Avengers Age of Ultron is messy, however, not nearly to the level of what some people say, but it's also important. It lays the groundwork for so much of what comes next. It deepens these characters, and even when it stumbles, it never stops being entertaining. This isn't the clean, crowd-pleasing magic of the first Avengers. This is the MCU growing pains, and honestly, that's what makes it even more of an interesting revisit. But what do you think? Is Age of Ultron underrated? And I say it all the time, and I truly mean it. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone can love movies differently. This is a movie that I absolutely, wholeheartedly can see how people would absolutely love this movie, and then in the same breath, I can see how people would absolutely call this a movie that doesn't live up to the MCU standards. And as we continue our road to Avengers Doomsday, things are only going to get bigger from here. We thank you for watching today's episode, and make sure you drop a follow, subscribe to us, as we want to hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers before the release of Avengers Doomsday. We thank you again for watching today's episode, and now that you've got some time, you can go refill that popcorn bucket.